Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest 8-second gaming, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the future of Diablo 4. The game has been out for long enough now that people are starting to speculate what the future is going to be like, so we're going to be talking about it today. Now, starting this off, obviously we have to talk about the renown system because that is one thing that everyone is wondering. What are you going to have to do with your renown at the start of a new season? Are you going to have to do it all over again? Is it going to be super tedious? Because if it is that hard to do it, a lot of people just aren't going to want to play the game anymore. But it seems like the devs actually do have a pretty solid system in place for renown in new seasons. It's kind of a meet in the middle situation with grinding more renown and also having a quality of life that passes over from season to season. So you won't actually have to get all of the altars of Lilith again. Those are going to be carrying over from season to season, which will be really nice because those are a huge power boost, but they're also super tedious to get. I think I'm about halfway through my altars. I've gotten quite a few of them. I've only 100%ed fractured peaks, but still it's kind of a pain in the butt to do them all. So having them carry over from season to season will be a very nice quality of life feature, but that's not the only thing. Supposedly the map will still be discovered and the waypoints that you have will still be unlocked. The only things that you're really going to have to do again are the quests inside the specific areas and also redoing the strongholds that are there, but the strongholds aren't actually that hard. They only really take a few minutes and there's only really 3 of them per area, so it's not that bad. I personally don't mind redoing the strongholds, but I would love to hear some opinions in the comments down below. Overall, I think this is a fantastic idea for the renown system. It still leaves a little bit of grinding in there from season to season, so you're always going to have to do something again to keep up that benefit, but you also still do get kind of the bigger, more tedious ones like the waypoints and the altars. But now let's move into the next thing that's going to be changing in Diablo's future, and that's you being unsubscribed to this channel. You need to definitely hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with our posts. But in all seriousness, the next thing is more just quality of life updates. It seems like the devs are actually listening to the community and changing a bunch of things that are just really weird in the game. One big shining example of this is the gems. Gems in the game are very strong. They're very good and you want to get them, but they can take up a lot of space, and if you're running a bunch of dungeons back to back to back, those gems can take up some valuable inventory space that you don't really want to use. And because we do have limited stash space, you don't want to be using it on gems. It's just kind of wasted space in my opinion. But yeah, the devs have been listening to this community feedback, and in the future gems are going to be going into your currency tab. So they're no longer going to be in your main inventory. You're not going to be having to waste stash space to carry them. It's going to be fantastic. Now this is going to take a while for them to do. It's going to be coming in at around season 2, I believe the dev said, and that is a long ways away because they have to basically completely redo the UI and the way that the gems work and the pickup system. It is actually a ton of work for the programmers and also the design teams and a bunch of ways like that. It is going to take them a while to do it, so we do have something to look forward to in the future, but for now we are going to have to deal with gems, but just keep in your mind that they are working on it. But the thing that I am most excited for is the way that the dungeons are going to be working now. And the way that the game works currently, the best thing for endgame is to just run dungeons over and over and over. A good example of this is the Ruins of Eridu, Champion's Demise, Ironhold, just dungeons like that. You go in, you kill the elites, you leave, you reset the dungeon, you're good to go, and you do it again, and you just continue to do that over and over and over. Not the most exciting endgame for a lot of people, but it's really the only endgame that we kind of have for grinding specific gear. If you need an amulet, you just keep running a dungeon over and over and over until an amulet drops. But the devs want Nightmare dungeons to be the main end game. They want you doing these dungeons because they get harder and harder and harder. The enemies are harder, you have upsides, you have downsides, and at the end you get a massive reward with a guaranteed legendary and you get to level up your glyph. But right now, the Nightmare dungeons just aren't really worth doing. Going into a dungeon, killing a bunch of elites, leaving and resetting it is just way faster at getting gear. If you want to do a Nightmare dungeon, you have to get a sigil, you have to use that sigil, you have to figure out where the dungeon is, you have to get to that dungeon, and then you have to do it. It's a lot of really annoying work when you could just find a dungeon, just continue to run it over and over and over. And if you don't have multiple of that one dungeon sigils, at the end of it, you're just gonna have to do the same thing over where you have to travel to the new dungeon. Very annoying for a lot of people. But again, thankfully, Diablo devs have been listening. So in a future update, when you use a sigil, you are going to have an option to teleport straight to the dungeon. And they also have stated that they do plan to up kind of the loot pool in the Nightmare dungeon, so you do have a better option of getting higher tier gear. I'm not sure if it's going to to be coming in the same update because they haven't really stated when that will be coming in, but the dungeon changes where you do get to teleport to the Nightmare Dungeon are coming supposedly July 4th. So that is something that is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. And speaking more on the endgame stuff that Diablo has to offer, I know that a lot of people don't think that Diablo has a very in-depth endgame, but it does have a pretty Diablo-esque endgame. Diablo has always been about going into an endless dungeon, figuring out how much gear you can get from that, and just getting the best in slot gear for your character. That has always been Diablo's style of endgame, and Diablo 4 is no different. Is it as in-depth as other games such as Path of Exile? Right now, no, but it hasn't been out for long enough to be in-depth like Path of Exile. And with the new ways that Diablo's system is going to be bringing in seasons, I'm really hoping that as the seasons progress, they start to introduce new league mechanics or new season mechanics, so that as the game gets older and older and older, it keeps it fresh and it keeps stuff that's going to be constantly coming in. If they introduce a new mechanic every single season like Path of Exile, then Diablo could definitely stay up to date for 10 years to come. That being said, they have to be pretty interesting mechanics, because like Path of Exile, if it's a really bad league, people stop playing that league very quickly. But if they do this system, then if a new system comes in the next season, people might come back and test it out, see if they like it. If it's big again, then people are going to be coming back, and it's just going to continue to waterfall like that. So I personally am really excited to see how everything works out with the seasons. For season 1, I'd really like to see kind of Uber bosses come into play. I'd really like to see an Uber and Ariel fight. I think that would be super amazing. But overall, I'm really excited to see where Diablo's future leads, because right now it seems like the devs are pretty on the ball. They're listening to the community, they're constantly nerfing and buffing and changing things, and they have a lot of really cool stuff planned for the future, in my opinion. But what do you guys think about Diablo's future? Is there anything that you'd like to see brought in? Is there anything you'd like to change? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Diablo 4 tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next one.